everyone. I think it's still morning. Okay, this video today is going to be all about biofeedback because I've got the masterclass coming up next week for biofeedback. That's in exactly 1 week. I'm super excited about it because this is something that I feel as a mum and as a coach has just completely changed the game for me. You know, a lot of you already know I'm a single mum with 4 kids. And, you know, I've been doing that for 6 years, over 6 years, 6.5 years. And I learned biofeedback and muscle testing 2 years before that. So I've been doing it for almost 9 years. And yeah, I feel like this has probably been the catalyst for more change, more positive change in my life, and really a form of direction more than anything else. So on a personal level, on a, you know, being a mum level, on being a coach and a kinesiologist, I just find muscle testing and biofeedback like an absolute game changer. And I think it's something that I just think every person should know how to tap into their subtle energies. So I'll go through and explain a little bit about what it is, because it sounds a bit like there's not many people who actually know about it. Not as many as I think really should, which is why I'm really passionate about bringing things that I find so useful and educating people about it. So what is biofeedback? Basically, biofeedback is learning the language of your body. Our body has a mechanism in which, and several mechanisms in which it communicates with us. Now, you might go, okay, well, that's kind of weird. Isn't that hippie? Well, no, actually, it's not hippie at all. Because when you get stressed, you know, you start feeling it in your shoulders, right? You can start getting a headache. The way we feel impacts our physical body, right? And even the thoughts that we think impact our physical body. And one of the examples of this is the idea of going to the fridge. So just hold this thought in your mind. You go to the fridge, you grab out a nice, juicy, cool lemon, you cut it in half, and then, or cut it in quarters, and then you put a quarter in your mouth and you suck on it. And even just thinking that will start to release saliva into your mouth. You'll start to salivate. Now, physiologically, you haven't changed anything. You just had a thought, but it created a physical response in your body. Now, that is a part of the subtle energies, right? It's a little bit more, you know, it's a little bit more tangible in the fact that, well, we know what a lemon tastes like, so we can relate to that. But on a deeper level, our body's vibrations start to change when different stimulus is presented to it, right? Which is why muscle testing works so well, because it works with these subtle energies. It works with the different vibration changes, right? It's just like if you have a crush on someone and you see a photo of them, you kind of get all tingly inside. It's a very similar type of a thing. Your whole chemistry starts to change. So why do we want to learn the language of the body? Isn't that just such an incredible skill to have, to tap into and hear from your body and what it is that it's trying to communicate to you? Seems like it takes a lot of guessing out of life. It doesn't just seem like it, it actually does take a lot of guessing out of life. Our issue is like, yeah, so I'll go through and just talk about a couple of different things. So what is biofeedback? Well, it incorporates a lot of different things. It is the language of the body. It's learning how the body communicates. But there are a couple of different techniques. I know quite a few, but I'm going to be sharing 5 of the most popular, the easiest to learn, most accessible ways, which, you know, people can tap into this, you know, fantastic mechanism of having that feedback from the body. One of them is muscle testing, right? So muscle testing, it's a form of a yes or no, or a this or that. So it comes from having 2 options to choose from, you know. So I say, show me a yes and show me a no. So one is a loose, soft reaction, and one is a firmer reaction. So that's just one form. Now that took me quite a while to conquer. Some people actually learn it a lot quicker, but that particular muscle test for me was actually a difficult one to learn. And I think also just going into the mechanics behind it and learning a lot of the history of biofeedback and some of the science as well, which is what I'm going to be covering in the masterclass. But that actually really helps. Like having that information actually helps you to become a lot more sensitive to the information that you're receiving back, the feedback. So, this subtle energy that I kind of keep talking about, you could interpret that as a gut feeling, right? Usually we have a little bit of, like an instant butterflies, like that's biofeedback, right? But sometimes we get stuck in our heads because for some reason our gut instinct has kind of been it's been seen as less in this society. Reasoning and thinking and critical thinking and analysis, they seem to be taking a lot more precedence in our culture for some reason, because we think that we can think our way through everything. So even if we do get that gut feeling, like a bit of intuition or insight, we start to question it and we become confused because our brain isn't necessarily making sense of the information that it's receiving from the body, and we really try and think our way through it, whereas that's not how we actually process thoughts and that sort of thing. A lot of the time we process thoughts somatically through our body, physically. So a lot of this confusion, the gut, the brain, and our intuition, we kind of get stuck in between, and that's when anxiety sets in, and when we start questioning, and also the fear of doing something wrong and all of that. Learning these techniques has really alleviated a lot of my anxiety, which has been absolutely amazing, especially as a mum, and as a coach too, just knowing what to draw on and where, and what can take up my, time to focus on, and what actually really needs to be focused on. So, learning these techniques, they really help to create a lot more clarity around the different decisions that you make. Working with vibrations, it kind of helps you to tap in a lot more to what is in your highest good, which is a question that I ask a lot. Is this in my highest good? Is this in the highest good for all? That sort of thing. And the more that you learn about and practice it, the easier it becomes. So now for me, it's second nature. I'll literally just be driving and I'll muscle test on something, and the kids know what I'm doing. And if you've been a client of mine, you would have seen me muscle test probably. And, even just knowing that there's that mechanism there, it's sort of quite comforting for other people around too. So yeah, as a mum, it's helpful because, it helps me to even identify, what underlying emotions are here showing up for the kids. If there's some sort of a lash out, or they have an emotional breakdown or a tantrum, you kind of something that I usually ask is this a bigger issue, or is this just, a little thing that they're kind of trying to deal with? And that's been really helpful too. The other thing that I've used it for is in the supermarket when I'm buying things and asking, even bread, is this bread in the highest good for my family? And then going along and muscle testing the different breads. And, even just silly things like what should I cook for dinner? If I'm super indecisive, I'll just muscle test it. And that kind of gets rid of a lot of the decision fatigue around, my goodness, as a mum, how many decisions do you have to make a day? It's insane. So that, even just for that, it's amazing. And on the way to school, going, okay, well, I kind of have a feeling to go this way. Should I go this way? Should I go that way? And muscle testing on it, and then going, cool, I'll go this way. And then it's out of your mind. And as a coach, as a coach, so with kinesiology, I have a ton. I'm really lucky that I've had so much training in muscle testing and that sort of thing. But, you know, even just as a coach, there are so many tools in our toolbox that we could possibly use. And, you know, it's sometimes us relying on our brains. Our brains don't know everything. It's not how we process information. We process it somatically. So for us to, you know, be sitting with a client and going, what is it that's in their highest good? What is it that's going to create the most impact for them right now? What is the priority tool that I can use to help impact their life for the better? Because as a coach, you don't want to have clients who just come and be clients forever. You want them to be able to get to a point where they are self-sufficient and they can then move on. It's not, I don't think that it's actually a sign of a great coach to have someone who is constantly there, constantly having to come back to you. You want people to be able to tap into their own healing powers and that sort of thing, and, you know, move through an issue instead of staying stuck in it. And honestly, muscle testing, I don't know how anyone does it without it, to be honest. I just don't know how anyone could coach without it. Like, you know, you'd have to be so in your mind, you know, and not feeling through things as much, or seriously in touch with your, you know, with your intuition. You know, so I'd find that really hard, because I know for me, like, my head and my heart, like, they get caught up all the time, which is why muscle testing is so amazing. Yeah, so I find it's a lot more efficient for finding which tools to use. It's a lot more effective. So the tools that I am choosing to use at those times are just so much more effective. As well as getting to, like, is there an underlying emotion? Is there, you know, a chakra that's blocked? Like, is there anything that I need to do before we get into this tool, like, or using that technique, or, you know, just different things like that. So it is something that I honestly find invaluable. And so a couple of techniques, I'll just show you two today. So there is the muscle testing. That's only one of the forms of muscle testing. And the other thing that I like, but I don't actually use this all that much, I do sometimes when I'm meditating, is the pendulum. Now, some people might think that this is like a witchy type of a thing. It's actually not. It's no different to muscle testing. It's just using something that's different to your body, but uses your body's vibration. So I'm holding it on my finger. The vibrations move through my hand into the leather and then onto the clear quartz, the crystal. And that's how I receive information. It's a yes or no again. So those are just two ways. And just another point on the whole subtle energies thing. We have blood that flows through our body in its own system, in its own direction of flow. And if that's blocked, then we have different issues, which can lead to stroke, which can lead to a lot of other issues. And it's actually the same, a very similar type of a system with our energy or our chi. We have the meridians, which our life force runs through. That's just another word for energy or chi. Our life force runs in a particular direction, and if there's a block, then we feel off. We could have physical symptoms, but usually it'll start as an emotional symptom. So anxiety, depression, feeling overwhelmed, feeling super tired or lethargic, feeling really close to tears a lot, or feeling quite, you know, angry and like raw. Those are all different cues to show that your life force is blocked. Even a lack of passion, a lack of, you know, libido, all of that are different signs. Before they even get to the physical, they're going to be presenting as emotions. And because we're in a society where it's like, no, just plug it and move on, we don't actually address a lot of the emotions that we have going on. So to find where these different blocks are, and to also be able to find the resources for how to fix them. I think that's one thing that, you know, I'm so impressed with biofeedback about is that I can literally ask, who do I go to help me with this problem? You know, and I've even had occasions with the kids where it's like, is it in my highest, or is it in the child's highest good to take them to see a doctor right now, or to take them to the hospital? Because you know how sometimes you don't want to be over dramatic, but you're not exactly sure. And some people like, just take them anyway. And it's like, well, no, sometimes it's not in their best interest, because waiting around for hours at a hospital or at a doctor's or whatever, you know, it's not always in their highest good, when it's something that could sometimes just correct itself, because that's what our body does. Our body's constantly trying to heal itself, constantly. And I think biofeedback is one of the ways that we can really just assist our body to do what it's best at. I really hope this helps. Ask me any questions. I love answering questions. So if you've got any questions on biofeedback, or you're not sure if it's for you or not, please send me a DM. I'm more than happy to talk about it. I hope that this has helped a little bit, because yeah, it's something that is so accessible. Oh my goodness, it's so easy to learn. It's such a beautiful asset in life, this skill. And yeah, I just want to share it with as many people as is willing to learn. I hope you have an amazing day. Mwah. Love you. Bye.